frame at a height of 24 inches above ground. You'll notice it doesn't show any wheels because that's later. And it doesn't show the tongue because I just didn't feel like trying this in. It didn't affect the footprint of the house. And the wheels will go somewhere along in here. And so that's where I started. That's also why you don't see the wheels, since the only thing they interact with is the frame. It isn't a worry for me right now that I don't actually have the wheels on the trailer. However, this kind of shaded area on three sides that extends beyond the house, you'll notice that is the bounding box for what is illegal to come down the road in California and Oregon and a few other states. And the distance, most people hear 8.5 feet this way by 13.5 feet this way. There, that's the kind of the bounding box, 8.5 here, 13.5 here. Well, it turns out in California, those dimensions, 8.5 by 13.5, are kind of the lowest common denominator for all the states that drive. So it doesn't include Hawaii, but since we drive between Alaska and the lower 48, however, California and Oregon, the states that I'd guess are 99% of the time where this will be and will be built, etc. and so forth. Their height limit is 14 feet, so I'm going, oh cool, I just need an extra half inch of space inside the house, so that's the bounding box. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of that now. I'm just going to slowly peel these layers back until I can get some more details on the trim. So I'm going to take away that bounding box. Now you'll see other ends, that kind of sticking out. It's another kind of L-beam shape that doesn't have any volume. Those are, if you imagine, hold on, let me just take a couple of others out. Well, let me come back to that. As you can see, I even created a texture for my Tyvek. I haven't built outward from that. Oh, I ought to go back to the bounding box a bit and talk about the roof frame. Bounding box. You'll notice that right now the roof rafters are extended outside of the bounding box. And there's a simple reason for that. I've made a few changes in the roof pitch, and it's a real pain here in SketchUp to do that. And as a result, the last time I did it, essentially what you do on the roof pitch is you start out with a horizontal rafter, and then you attach it to your ridge board here, then you bend it down at the proper pitch, and then start taking away from it, because when you do that, geometry starts intersecting, and that's another royal pita. Anyway, last time I changed the pitch, which was to accommodate a roof window that is egress rated. Yes, I want to be able to get out from the loft in a fire situation if my normal route out is blocked by the fire. And it turns out that the minimum size window that would be officially rated as egress was too big for a lower pitch. I started out at 3 and 12, then I found out the roofing products I was looking at weren't okay to use on a 3 and 12, so I went to a 4 and 12 and tootled along there for a while, and then all of a sudden I started looking into the details of the roof windows and went, oops, at a 4 and 12, the distance available for the window, which was basically draw a line, extend that line out there, more like that, parallel to this, meeting that, parallel to this line, meeting that point, and then measuring down. The roof window would have been, if I'd gone with, there's no egress window that I could have gone to that wouldn't have ended up intersecting the wall, and I wanted to be solely contained in the ceiling. So I had to go to a 6 and 12, and I did most of the work on the 6 and 12. I just haven't trimmed out the ends of the rafters yet and done the details at the roof edge. That can be done later. Anyway, that I think is all I need to show with the bounding box. So I've got the building paper, which is where in this list to take it off. Yeah, the building wrap. And then you'll notice I'm showing the next layer as we peel the onion here is the shear walls. And you'll notice one of them seems to have disappeared. That's kind of an artifact of dealing with the building paper. For the purpose of viewing and transparency, I mean, from the point of view of the dimension of my building, the thickness of the building paper has no importance whatsoever. But in the SketchUp model, it's got to have some thickness, and so I made it so thin that when I'm working with it and the shear panels at the same time, sometimes things go awry, and I somehow lost the shear panel here on this side, which is why you don't see it. But there will be one there. That's another detail I'll be able to come back and clean up. Anyway, so now let's take out the shear panels, and we're getting more towards something that's actually going to give you some idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to hide that, and so that you can take a kind of peek inside. But one thing I ought to let you know is kind of the orientation of my model. Okay. This kitchen, the refrigerator may move, but essentially the front door is probably going to be on this side, and the tongue end of the trailer is the other end. Though it may end up in here somewhere. Anyway, but you walk in, and there's what in a regular house would be called a great room. However, it's kind of funky to call a room in a tiny house a great room, so I'm going to call this the multi-purpose room. Anyway, and okay, let's take care of this funny shaded thing here. What that is when I add the wheels, there's going to be a projection that comes up, the wheel wells, somewhere in this area. I'm hoping to do a weight and balance calculation and then specify my trailer with the wheels in the appropriate place so I have good front and back ballast, balance, and don't exceed the tongue weight. Which is why I haven't drawn the actual wheel wells yet. But I've left this as kind of a guideline, which I'm now going to remove so that as I do details, I'll occasionally click them on and see if later on the wheel wells are going to interfere so badly with what I'm trying to do that I ought to find another place to do it. So let's get rid of the wheel wells in here somewhere. Okay, so now we're at the wheel wells in here somewhere. Okay, I'm going to hide the front wall and the right wall so we can get a good peek inside. Front wall frame, and for orientation purposes, for right now, since I haven't defined the door, the wall that just disappeared I'm calling the front wall. This wall's the right wall, that wall's the left wall, and that wall is the tongue end wall. And I did this because I wanted to talk about the house from the orientation of how I'm going to use it as a house, not from the orientation of how I'd use it as a trailer, which would change the nomenclature. That is, if I did it from the orientation of as it was being trailered, that would be the front, that is the thing that's exposed moving forward. The one I just disappeared would be rear. This would still be left and right, because you do it, or driver and passenger, whatever you want to say, if you're in a country that drives on the right. Anyway, and then I'm also going to remove what for me is the right side wall framing, so we can get a better peek inside. I want to leave the roof framing here a second so I can kind of zoom in here on the loft and just show you that my loft height, let me pull up the measurement tool here. Where's the measurement tool? Measurement tool. The loft height is, I want to be on this face. On the face. shift. No, whoops. I need that shift down to, come on. Yeah, it's not giving me the measurement I want. There we go. I've got 7 feet and a quarter inch. That's pretty darn good, isn't it? Hey, I didn't realize I'd gotten that good. Well, I haven't done the interior finishes in, but more important, I've got, even at the sides of the loft, I've got a good 16 inches there, which means, and that's just going to be at the edge of my bed, and it's steeply pitched enough it comes up. I'm comfortable with the sleeping loft and the height I placed on it. I think I ended up giving myself a 6'6" clearance between the framing of the loft and the interior floor down here. Anyway, so this room is the great room. This is a sleeping loft. Back here is a room that is initially going to be an office. Let me show you this in its office configuration. Let's see, tools, window. Oh, come on, how do I show this? View, here we go, toolbars. Dynamic components, that's the one I want. I should have had this open. Okay, where'd my dynamics? Oh, there it is. This is a Murphy bed desk. It's called a dynamic component in SketchUp, and I've done it just based on the manufacturer's dimensions, but that's closed. You know, when I first occupy this house, this is going to be my office, and I'll sleep up in the loft. Also, because this is a Murphy bed as well as a desk, I haven't drawn in the mattress. This is where if I do want to put up a guest, I can put up a guest in my own home. And later on in my lifetime, when I can no longer climb either, I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to do stairs or a ladder to the loft, but when I'm restricted to the first floor, then the loft becomes my guest bedroom, and I just use the office as an office and bedroom combination. I leave so much strewn around the office these days that I really don't want to be going back and forth, which is why I plan to sleep in this loft to begin with. This green area is something I just put in. It really represents against this wall, which is the left wall of the office, the area that I think I'm going to be able to. Well, let me get rid of the roof rafters, the roof framing, so I can give you a little bit of an upper view. So you see, I mean, as you can see, it doesn't have much thickness, but that's because I didn't care so much to that extent as how it would interfere with the opening and closing of the bed. But it represents potential cabinetry areas, pull it out, other things. Another thing you'll notice is I'm showing my framing in two different colors. This color, I don't want to keep clicking. That color is plain old standard construction fir framing, studs, etc. This darker color is redwood, and it's redwood, and I've used it any place that I expect to have any of the structure visible once all the interior finish is on. And you'll notice that because of these beams going all the way across, all of my interior walls aren't structural, which means I can make them really flimsy. And what I've chosen to do is I've kept with the 2x4 dimension, because that means I only need to put, for privacy reasons or whatever, I only need to put a covering on one side of it, and the other side is going to be available to put in just little whatever I want to do in terms of storage into the niches. Probably, in fact, I've already bought my floor. It's a It's a laminate product that just clicks together and floats. Really easy installation. Comes in about 4 foot long by, I think, 8-inch wide strips. I don't know, but and the deal was so good, I bought too much of it, and I'll be left with a lot left over, and they'll end up being the shelves in all my little niches. What other interesting things? Oh, you see that? You see that? Tesla? How best to show this? Okay, let me take away the loft framing, furnishings, and floor so we can get a better look at the first floor all by its lonesome. At some point, I think if I knew that Tesla's new home batteries were safe to use inside the conditioned space of your home, then this wouldn't be a tentative plan. I would be planning on them. You're looking at somewhere between 14 and 20 kilowatt hours of backup storage, even if I don't do anything solar. And I expect in the next 5-10 years that the ability to be interactive with the utility on those is going to be there, so that when they have high demand, they can say, hey, can we take some of your stored energy, all of this, of course, electronically, and buy it from you? And I can say, yes or no or whatever. But they're heavy. They're 220 pounds each, 100 kilograms, which is why when I thought, gee, I really want a Tesla battery, I started first thinking outside of the house. But they're so damn deep that there's no way you're going to put them on the outside of the sidewalls, because I have to stay within the towing width limit, and that would have squeezed down my interior space by that much. I could have put them on the tongue end wall up here outside, but the fact is they aren't cheap, and I don't like the idea of a $3,000 roughly battery being exposed for anybody with a wherewithal to try and steal something that weighs as much as me to do. So I kind of said, okay, I can do them inside, but I don't really have any unconditioned areas. Anyway, so I can't put them outside. I can't put them, and inside, I didn't, inside, the only balanced place I could have put it in terms of left to right on the trailer, because they're going to be a real heavy thing in the weight calculation, would have been at either end. But doing just one of them at either end would have severely made the tongue problems and making sure that's a good weight difficult, shall we say. So then I realized, that maybe try and put them somewhere near the wheels, balanced left and right, and so there's that. And while they aren't a definite in there yet, they do have to do with the planning of my bathroom, so that I can put them in the future. Let's zoom in on the bathroom here. What you've got here is just a really sketchy outline of a Sunmar composting toilet. Now the toilet doesn't really have this extension, but because I've been using it to place it down, just to check everything, that is what has to be kept clear in order to be able to remove the trays with the completed composted material. So, I mean, theoretically, I could bring this wall all the way up to there if I could find another place for the sink. And, oh, interesting thing in SketchUp. This is just a sink I kind of hand did. And the last thing I did before I showed you this was I moved the location of this wall by about 3 inches. It used to be 3 inches to the left. Well, the sink didn't move, so now it intersects, but that's a detail I'll clean up later. So anyway, composting toilet, sink, Tesla thing, the Murphy bed desk, and how this room's going to become an office and a bedroom at the same time. Those are some of the things that are pretty firm in my design. This area here, I haven't filled it in yet, is going to be a frick of a lot of storage, but this hallway that ends up is still going to be like 3 feet wide. And again, this goes into my whole design philosophy in that I want this to be a building that I can use until and unless I'm confined to a wheelchair. So while I can still climb stairs or ladders, whichever is the access to the loft, then that's kind of one mode of my using this house. As my decrepitude sets in, once I can no longer access the loft, then I still want to make sure that I can get around on the main floor. And the further restriction might be needing a walker for balance. So yeah, I'm going to be able to be in here with a walker, though I haven't walled in this side of the toilet area yet. I will do that just for privacy reasons, but for access, once I'm walker bound, I'll probably by that time not be good at construction, get somebody just to tear out that wall. I'll probably build some sort of a real lightweight privacy screen on top of the finished floor so that once it's torn out, the